South of Seal Island, hidden in the Atlantic fog, lies a rock so small that even during the lowest tide of the year, only a few feet of it ever rise above the sea. Today, it's called Blonde Rock. Most people pass the name on a chart without ever asking why. Local fishermen mention Blonde Rock without a second thought to where the name came from. But in January of 1782, during the final years of the American Revolution, a British warship carrying American prisoners struck that rock in winter darkness, and what happened afterward became one of the strangest little wartime stories on the Nova Scotia coast. This is the story of HMS Blonde. The American Revolution is often remembered as a land war. Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts, Yorktown, Virginia. But while armies fought inland, another war unfolded across the Atlantic waters surrounding Nova Scotia. At the time, Nova Scotia remained British territory, and Halifax was one of the Royal Navy's most important bases in North America. Warships, supply vessels, merchant ships, and privateers constantly moved through these waters. And privateers were everywhere. Privateers were privately owned vessels authorized to attack enemy shipping during wartime. Depending on who's telling the story, they were either patriots or legalized pirates. American privateers regularly harassed British ships around Nova Scotia during the Revolution, capturing their vessels, taking prisoners, and disrupting trade. The sea itself had become a battlefield. HMS Blonde was a 32-gun British frigate, but she had not begun her life under the British flag. Originally, she had been a French warship captured by the British during the 7 Years' War and later taken into Royal Navy service. Even her name had a story. Some accounts suggest the ship was named for the blonde-haired female figurehead carved on her bow. By 1782, Blonde was operating in North American waters during the American Revolution under Captain Philemon Thornborough. And shortly before disaster struck, HMS Blonde had captured an American privateer brig known as Lion. A British prize crew from the HMS Blonde was reportedly placed aboard the captured vessel Lion to sail her to Halifax. The captured Americans became prisoners aboard the HMS Blonde herself. Then fate intervened. On January 21st, 1782, HMS Blonde struck a dangerous shoal southeast of Seal Island, the rock barely below the water. Even today, at low spring tide, only a small portion ever rises above the sea. In the age before radar, GPS, sonar, or modern navigation markers, hidden rocks like this could become death sentences in fog, darkness, and winter weather. And now the captor had become the wreck. Aboard the HMS Blonde were British sailors and American prisoners, all suddenly trapped together in freezing Atlantic seas. Historical accounts differ on exact numbers, but roughly 60 American prisoners are believed to have been aboard. In the chaos that followed, survivors escaped the wreck in boats and made their way towards Seal Island. And in January, survival itself was uncertain. Today, Seal Island is known for its lighthouse and its long history of shipwrecks. But in 1782, it was isolated, exposed, and dangerous with no permanent residents, no lighthouse, and no help. To reach land at all was a miracle. The survivors of HMS Blonde found themselves stranded on a barren Atlantic island in winter during wartime. A British crew, American prisoners, enemies only days earlier. Now they shared the same freezing shoreline and the need to find a way to survive. And then, just days later, sails appeared offshore. The vessels that arrived were American privateers, the Lively and the Scammell. The Scammell was commanded by Captain Noah Stoddard, the Lively by Captain Daniel Adams. And this is where the story becomes more interesting. We can only assume there were some interesting negotiations between the British captain holding the American prisoners, who had nothing and no way to escape the island, and the American privateer captains, who had both supplies and transportation off the island. The American privateers recovered the American prisoners. According to later accounts, Captain Thornborough of HMS Blonde had treated his prisoners relatively well before the wreck. So, whether from respect or human decency or simple understanding between sailors, the Americans reportedly delivered the British crew to the mainland, where they were able to return safely to Halifax aboard HMS Observer. In the middle of war, mercy briefly interrupted the conflict. But not everyone approved of the compassionate actions of the American privateer captains. Some historical accounts claim that Captain Daniel Adams later faced criticism for allowing British sailors to go free rather than treating them strictly as prisoners of war. According to some retellings, the controversy may have contributed to Adams later relocating to Nova Scotia. As with many 18th century maritime stories, parts of the historical record remain unclear. Spellings vary, numbers differ, details shift between accounts, but the core story survives. A captured American privateer and her crew taken prisoners, a British frigate wrecked on hidden rocks, enemies stranded together in winter, and a moment of humanity remembered long after the war itself ended. Today, Blonde Rock still appears on nautical charts off Seal Island. Just a small rock in the Atlantic, barely visible above the water. But over the centuries, Blonde Rock has claimed ships both known and unknown, often with deadly consequences. If you know local stories, family histories, or maritime legends connected to Nova Scotia's coast, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Until next time, stay curious.